Hello everyone, welcome to the PinkUn Facebook page. Welcome to the PinkUn podcast as well, because we're doubling up on this Monday afternoon. I'm Michael Bailey, this is Paddy Davitt, and we're here fresh from Colney. Fresh, right? Fresh?
A bit tired today, mate.
A bit tired.
It's been a long journey back from the Midlands.
Yeah, you have had a good journey of it.
A14, shocking, but we don't need to hear about it.
No, it's something that's going to get on our wick probably for the rest of the season. But we are maybe not fresh, but we are back from Colney. Fresh from talking about the Carabao Cup, previewing Norwich's second round clash at home against Charlton, of course, as well as reflecting quite a bit on what happened over the weekend too. As is customary with the League Cup presses, we only got to speak to the manager today. What did you make of his demeanour, Paddy? There's a question for you, because I think fair to say that Saturday was obviously quite a blow, and even in this world of work in progresses and patience, it was a tough one to take.
Yeah, it was. I thought his demeanour was very good today, because without prompting, he was straight in. He knows full well that defensively there's plenty of question marks, A, in terms of the personnel individually, and B, collectively. The goals against column, I've written about it today, is, even at this stage, troubling within the context of a work in progress. And but he actually moved on to those areas without needing to be taken there, and I thought he was very good. You know, he did make the point that these are young men, and in the cases of Franke and Zimmerman, coming from a different footballing culture, that's going to take time, we know that. And he also understands there's a bit of scrutiny there and a bit of criticism, but he would rather, quote, he took all the brickbats to translate for him, rather than, get on the backs of his young lads. I like to see that he's willing to stand there, and ultimately the buck stops with him, and he's acknowledged that today. I thought, within the context, and he's not offering it as an excuse, but it is mitigation for me. As he said, Zimmerman and Franke right now, they're the only two fit centre-backs.
Yeah.
So as much as you'd like to maybe dip one or two of them out of the firing line because of the congested nature of the games and the lack of resource, he can't do it. Russell Martin, again, he's basically deputising for Ivo Pinto. There's a bit more positive news in terms of tomorrow night on Ivo, but again, James Husband, another one, who comes in if James Husband isn't available. Jamal Lewis is out for 3 or 4 months. Toffolo has been out all pre-seasons, and he's just started to come back now. Played a bit in the development last week. The cards he's being dealt at the minute, Mr. Farke, are not the easiest, given he's a new man trying to make his way and trying to get some momentum and some positivity in terms of results. So it's tough. It's tough for him. It's tough for those players as well, and probably the results bear that out, I think.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. And how he then takes on Tuesday's game, I suppose, will be really interesting, because he went full pelt, didn't he, for it in the first round against Swindon. That was as strong a side as he could have named, and you sense that he obviously wants to protect, much in how he did in terms of protecting their performance, I guess, on Saturday, but he wants to protect some of his players so they're not getting laid down low with this load that they're having to take on. I guess the interesting thing is, of course, they've then got Millwall on Saturday and then the international break, which to a degree I get the impression that can't come quickly enough to at least give them a refresh.
Definitely, yeah. He did maintain again. He liked cut progress, but I did detect, because of what we just discussed there will be far more of a reference point to Millwall on Saturday in terms of his selection for Charlton. We won't see Pinto. Well, we will see Pinto. I think he's available again, and he needs to play. He needs games now. He needs to get back up to speed. We won't see Closer. We won't see Nelson Oliveira. We probably won't see Cameron Jerome, Marley Watkins. I'd imagine we would see, but I think it'll be the guys a la Wiltshire, Steeperman, maybe even Tom Tribal. So yeah, I think there will be significant changes tomorrow.
Should we rattle through those then? Nelson Oliveira, groin injury, which is what kept him out effectively of Saturday's lineup. So,
and it sounds like because clearly there was a big issue about why he wasn't playing before the game. We got an explanation why after the game, and I think that cameo, I don't think it's done him any favours in terms of this week now, because the way Farke was talking, I don't think we'll see him for Millwall either. So it'll be the other side of the international break. Cameron
Jerome also has a groin issue, which is pretty awful time. It doesn't sound like it's as bad as Nelson's, but clearly, if with one struggling, it's dangerous to then risk the other one in that situation on a Tuesday night. Which again, Marley Watkins has a foot problem. Striker options. I know they've got 3-4 strikers, but It's always felt like they're a little bit short, but...
Well, you are when 3 of them are carrying knocks.
Yeah, that's very true, yeah. It's very true.
I could conceivably see Josh Murphy tomorrow lining up in a maybe 3-5-2, but then it's who plays alongside him up top. Do you push Naismith further forward? He can do that role. He did it at Everton. But going back to what we just said earlier, if Oliveira is effectively out for Saturday and Jerome's your only recognised fit striker and he's got an injury doubt, are you going to play him tomorrow night? You don't, do you? So then you're getting into the realms of if Watkins, by all accounts, is available for selection tomorrow, so I think you could conceivably see him lining up maybe with a Naismith.
Yeah. Sound like he'd play through the pain barrier. A little bit of pain, Marley. Don't forget, say hello to us. Get your questions in on here. Tell us where you're watching from. We'll get involved in those. James Balls says, give us a wave here in Newcastle. Oh, could give Jacob a wave up there, James. He also says beard.
He's not referring to me on that one.
So. Possibly. Maybe it's a request pad.
It's safe to say.
Maybe you need to, we both travel with...
You've got enough beard for both of us.
That's a fair point. That's no problem. Chris Jennings asks, do we have time, as if we don't go up this season we will be broke, which is quite obviously the statement, but it is interesting, I think, how a lot of people have said, it's going to take time. This season isn't a free hit because of the parachute payments, is it? It's a really difficult balance, and they will lose a lot of players, a lot of very good players, if they don't go up this year because of the loss of income. It's not a great situation, is it?
The phrase rock and hard place springs to mind, yeah.
That's spot on. Finley Norton, Oliveira needs to start every league match. And Jamie Pisey, hope I've said that right, Jamie. Murphy and Naismith up front tomorrow, which I think is what you just touched on.
Yeah, I can see it.
James Balls reckons Rafa is his neighbour. Well, he's better say hello and ask him why he doesn't trust Jacob Murphy yet. Ask him that one. In terms of, is there anything else we need to say on Villa, Paddy? Because... it was, the defending was a real issue. We've seen it in patches, haven't we? And you mentioned it earlier how much Daniel Farke kind of protected and defended his players, didn't they, individually, and tried to make it about that collective. But it's hard when Norwich give the ball away as they did, and then they look so open at the back. Yeah. What's the best way of arresting all that?
Well, I mean, there's two parts to it, and I say that because that's how the head coach broke it down straight after the game when he spoke to me at Villa Park, and that is essentially, yes, defensively they're not good enough, collectively and individually. Just the personal duels element of it. I mean, Zimmerman, he was, well, choose me words carefully, but I mean, a 19-year-old striker absolutely took him, back to school. Basically, it was painful to see at times, and Franke wasn't much better, to be honest. So that's one element, but flowing out of that, the reason the back line are under so much pressure is sadly because they're not retaining the ball well enough, and we saw that with Harrison Reed. That's not digging out Harrison Reed, because he then picked out Josh Murphy for that excellent opening goal for Norwich. So if you don't retain the ball and the way they want to play the game, and then you're losing it in your own half, then inevitably your back line are going to be under pressure. So as Farke said, it's not something in isolation that you just focus on, fix that, and everything else is okay. Everything is interlinked with how this Norwich team want to go about the task. And I suppose ultimately, if you don't retain possession, then you're going to leak goals, because the way Norwich is set up, they're not set up defensively and hitting teams on the counter-attack. They want to be the ones dominant in a game situation. And I'm not seeing it at the minute. I really am not seeing it. I know the possession stats tell you Norwich are having plenty of the ball, but it's progressive possession for me, and there's not enough of that. There's not enough playing progressive passes, forward passes, in behind, stretching the play. It's all too lateral for me at the minute. And that's something that I wrote about today as well. So it's too easy for Villa, too easy for Sunderland to shuffle back. Basically 2 lines of 4. We'll wait for Norwich to try and intricately play through, lose the ball, and then we're then attacking a vulnerable Norwich back line. Yes, okay, work in progress, understand all that, understand the philosophy, what they're trying to do, understand, I think this is the way to go, because if you're good at it, then you do create space and you do punish sides, but Norwich aren't good enough at it at the minute. No. And that's why ultimately the bottom line is defensively they look all over the shop, and that first half at Villa Park, but for Angus Gunn, that was 4 or 5. And it could have been the same at Fulham. They were far too open there at Fulham as well. Got away with it that day. And Sunderland basically breached him on a goal kick, a corner kick, and a ball from wide. So, it feels like there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that he has to solve if this is going to move forward. But as I say, it is early days, and you have to back the head coach in a situation and those players, but the degree of difficulty is very high at the minute, and then you add in the injuries. They're not getting many breaks at the minute for me. And that's the top and bottom of it.
No, and not much time to work on it is the other thing with all the games coming.
No time whatsoever.
Apart from the international break. We'll hang everything on that. And John Miersages, that's pretty much how you pronounce that, I'm sure, John. He says, how about a wave to the Yank in Spokane, Washington? I assume that's you, John, so there's a wave. Sorry? Spokane. Sorry, Spokane. I'm glad Tom knows. He's a big US fan over there, Tom. Ben Woodward, who do you think is first choice left back without injuries? So when there are no injuries, who is first choice left back? Interesting, actually. I thought that Daniel Farke mentioned James Husband, and again, someone who played not a lot of football last year. Yeah. Again, the amount of he's had to play now, he'd probably like to give him a rest by all accounts. Yeah. But he's, I guess, with Harry Toffolo and Jamal Lewis out, I don't know when he's going to get a rest.
Well, as you said, they have a fortnight shutdown, don't they, effectively, in terms of action on the pitch. So it's literally just, can they get through these next two games? Interesting question. I don't know. Ultimately, at the start of the summer, it would have been Husband, because you don't go out, you don't pay the money they paid for him in the context of what they're trying to do now with the finances this summer, and then don't look at him as a first choice option. But by all accounts, Stiepermann can operate there as well. So, I think all bets are off at the minute, because he's maybe not played a lot of football in the last 12 months, but he hasn't really grasped it for me. I think that's fair to say. He's looked quite vulnerable on occasion. So, in answer to that question, I don't think there is a recognised first choice left back, an outstanding candidate at the minute. So it's for somebody in that squad to put their hand up.
Someone to grab it. John also asks, when should we hit the panic button? He does think it's way too soon, but what do you think? When do we start worrying? The defence is a real concern for me. I know, as we've said, it's early doors, but to keep defending like that, that needs to be rectified pretty soon. In terms of weeks, really, regardless of what else is happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is the thing. You understand what they're trying to do, but then we're not in a holding pattern here where we're playing friendlies and the real action hasn't started. We're actually now into the league season, and it's a long season. We all know that in the Championship, but if the end game, you're talking about, one of the questions was, it's almost a cliff face this coming summer in terms of the financial meltdown that could ensue. Then ultimately you're going to try this season to get yourself in a position where you can challenge for promotion. Well, that might have gone if they don't turn it around in the next month, 6 weeks, 2 months, because they'll have too much ground to make up. It's a really difficult scenario. Ultimately, we'd have all loved to have hit the ground running, got that win at Fulham, on you go. Dare I say it, like a team who play in blue over the border. Remarkably, have managed to put a string of wins together. How, I do not know, but there you go. So, fine margins. If they had picked up a few decent results, then the odd blip, fair enough. But it just feels like every game now is more hope than expectation you go into. So, for reasons already stated, ultimately, I think it's going to be very tough to get anywhere in the mix this season. That's my honest opinion. I think looking at it as we see now, Warnock, you can just tell that he's got Cardiff moving forward now, and they're going to be one of these, maybe a Huddersfield type package this time round. Middlesbrough aren't going to be far away. Still think Villa could get it right, because we saw it firsthand. They've got the players, no two ways about it. Sunderland, they've certainly got enough, they showed down here, to be in and around it. So many clubs that if Norwich don't turn the ship around and start moving forward quickly, then the season, in terms of promotion, difficult, very difficult.
Very difficult indeed. What I should say is that if you head over to PinkUn.com and find the podcast, we'll stick my chat with Josh Murphy after Saturday's game. That'll be there for you to listen to. Probably one of the shining light on Saturday, certainly, along with Angus Gunn's goalkeeping. Will be a couple more minutes now, and then we'll let you all shuffle off to continue what you're doing. But Devon Briggs says, in my opinion, we need to sell Jerome and use that money alongside any other money, I don't think there is any other money, to get a 3-star plus striker that'll score 15 plus goals easily. Well,
that's Jerome, isn't it?
Now,
that is Jerome, isn't it? Jerome will score you 15.
I mentioned in my 6 things today, I'm just worried that Cam is struggling with how they want to play football. It seems that it's a little bit too intricate for him, and it's not really playing to Cam's strengths. And to me, there seems a really big gap between how Norwich look up top with Nelson in the side compared to Cameron, more so than last season. It's a tricky one.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that. Yeah, I mean, we've already seen it this season. We saw it on Saturday. Ball's getting put in the box and there's not one yellow shirt in the box, because there is this measured, incremental, will approach the opposition penalty box, then we might try and sort of put a ball in. But I mean, how many times have they checked back out when they've, to try and build the play again? Again, as I say, I understand the philosophy, what they're trying to do, but it's a little bit too predictable. And both Villa and QPR both pressed them high, and Norwich haven't managed to find a way around that. Okay, they beat QPR, but they had to weather a heavy storm there in the second half, and then Reed slotted one in from 25 yards. And that, actually, now it's popped into my head, that first goal against QPR, that is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get in and around the box, and then a beautiful pass from Vrancic. Oliveira really can't finish, but that's a progressive forward pass. Precious little scene of that. And if we can see more of that, then I think people could clearly see what they're trying to do in an attacking sense. But as I say, that stands out in my mind because it's a bit of an isolated incident at the minute. That progressive forward pass, and they score a goal, brilliant, and you think, yeah, really incisive, really love what they've done there, and not able to defend it. So
they've got to mix it up though as well, haven't they?
Too predictable.
I mean, they haven't really done anything with crosses, have they, so far this season?
What's the point? There's nobody in the box.
Well, yeah, it doesn't always stop them.
Nobody putting the ball in. If there's no point putting a ball in the box if there's nobody there. Which, to take your point on about Jerome, maybe that's why he's struggling to understand what is required of him. Is it to be a link player outside the box, or is it to You would think a striker, their primary aim would be to be on the end of balls fed into the box, but as I say, so many strands to this at the minute that it's difficult to suggest we'll do one thing and then it'll all miraculously, like flicking a switch, click into gear. I don't think it's going to be that, which is why, to labour the previous point, if it's not, doesn't come together in double quick time, then I think this season isn't going to be a promotion season.
Mark Hilton says the beard's beginning to look distinctly fake. You use Just for Men to accentuate the colour? What dark? No. It's no product. Other hair dyes are available. Is that what we say here? I can assure you it's not fake because my little boy grabs it and it really hurts. Simon Palmer, is Neil Adams still looking after the loan players? I believe so. He's had a couple of mentions and is still thoroughly involved, which is good. And last one, let's have a look. Craig Wall, in my opinion, don't believe the backline plus goalkeeper is good enough. Can't say we have a leader in there. Leader debate, you still having that, Pad?
Are you having it?
I didn't have it last season. I think everyone's still settling in this year. I'm surprised.
I think it's too much to expect of Frank Zimmerman or Husband to be a leader in that back line, given, as I say, young players making their way. So, Gunn the same. That leaves Russell Mine. You're not having him as a leader?
No, I do. I just think to have one leader and four youngsters is a tough ask.
It is,
for a Russell Martin who's probably still can't feel his ankle, and it's as though it's not ideal. And the clue is leaders. The clue is the S. The clue is not hang out one person because you don't think they're leading. You need 4, 5, or 6 in your 11.
I mean, the defensive. Okay, I can see where they're coming from, but you're going to miss a player like Klose. Now we know he struggled, particularly early on in the Championship, to deal with the physicality, and it's again there was that incident at Burton, wasn't there, towards the end. So by no stretch do you think Tim Klose comes back and everything's happy, and they're not going to concede another goal. But I do think they're clearly missing a guy who is ultimately a Swiss international, played at the top end of the Bundesliga. Why wouldn't you miss a guy like that? And that hasn't helped them. And as Farke said today, there's no way you can take out Zimmerman off Franke at the minute because there's no other alternative.
There's not.
That's where we are with this squad of players, which is another debate in terms of 2 weeks, 10 days left of the window. Do they go again? Will they have to go again? Because as I say, if we started this conversation at the top end of the pitch. If you have not got any recognised strikers, then is that not a statement that you need to go and rectify that in the window?
It's a good question that we're not going to answer now, Pad. But let's say Andy Cedric says everyone just needs to give the new regime a chance. It will take time. I still think we need another striker. And Jason Pasty Morby says, Bradders and Howson were leaders. What do we do? Flog them. Okay, well, we'll leave it there. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to those listening on the podcast. Much appreciated as always. Pad, thanks for your time. Right. We will both be at Carrow Road on Tuesday night, of course, as will David Freezer, to bring you all the coverage of the game. So check out PinkUn.com. We'll have loads of videos, words, noises, all the usual stuff, and an analysis afterwards too, although I can't say the word. It's a very difficult word, Paddy.
It's been a long day, mate.
It's been a long day already. But until then, thank you very much. And we will sign off. I'm probably going to have to reach across. So thanks, Pad.